everybody, Holli here from HolliDay AnyDay, and I thought we might make some Bolognese sauce today. I make mine just a little bit different because I like it kind of fine, so I use the processor for my veggies. Plus I add mushrooms, which just gives it a little bit more weight, and you don't have to use quite as much meat. So, first step, I've got chopped onions, celery, and carrots. I'm gonna toss it in my processor. See if we can start with this, guys. Let's give them a quick zhuzh. Okay. I just like to do it this way because the sauce doesn't come out quite as chunky. But if you want it a little more rustic, by all means, just leave it chopped up. So we'll go ahead and put this in our bowl. So we make a little bit of room to do our mushrooms and our garlic. Okay. Let's throw our mushrooms in. And to the mushrooms, I'm going to add a couple of cloves of garlic. You don't have to chop them up too much because they're going in the processor, but we'll just give them a start. Okay. Like I said, I just like a finer textured sauce. Okay. Okay, it's easy. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to the stove and we're gonna go ahead and saute our ground beef first in a little bit of olive oil and butter. Then we will remove it. And then we will saute all of our veg in that same olive oil and butter. Okie doke. Now let's take our meat and our veg over to the stove. And like I said, I'm going to start with the meat. And we're going to start with a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil, just to get it going. Okay. So I'm going to get this guy in here. Get it broken up. Because kind of like the vegetables, we like to keep the sauce a little finer, not too chunky. So we'll get our ground beef going. I'm going to combine my veggies here so I have a place to put my ground beef because I'm going to go ahead and do the ground beef. And then I will put the veggies in the grease from the ground beef. So here's my trick, potato masher. Just mash the beef down and it helps get it broken up a little bit more. You don't get those big chunks. I do this, my husband loves ground beef tacos, and this makes it nice and fine to go in a taco. And it works great in this too. Okay, my meat is just about done, nice and brown and nice and broken up. So all we're gonna do is we'll go ahead and using a slotted spoon, I'm just gonna toss it back in this bowl that all the mushrooms are in. Okay. Then let's go ahead and toss in our celery, carrots, onions, and mushrooms. They're tiny, so they're not really gonna get super brown or anything, but it's just gonna soften them up a little bit. And we'll sweat out some of the moisture in them too. So this is probably gonna go 3, 4, 5 minutes. And then we'll add the ground beef back into the pan, and then we'll go to our next step. Okay, these guys have been simmering out, or sauteing rather, for 3 or 4 minutes. They've released most of their moisture, as you can see. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add our ground sirloin back in. Let's go ahead and give it a stir. There are a few steps to this recipe, but it's definitely worthwhile. A lot of it is just hands off while it simmers away. So to that, let's go ahead and add some salt and pepper while we're thinking about it. And we can adjust later if we don't have quite enough in there. And then next step is white wine. Not red wine like you might think, but white wine. A cup of white wine, just something that you would drink. This is just a Chardonnay. And we're gonna let it come to a boil, which is doing like immediately. Okay. And then let's turn it down to a simmer. And we're gonna simmer it until all the wine reduces and there's no more liquid. And then the next step, we'll add some tomatoes and some stock. Okay, it's been about a half an hour. All of the wine has reduced out, as you can see. There's no more liquid left in here. Isn't that tasty? Smells fab. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add about 1.5 cups of chicken broth. And we're going to add a can of chopped tomatoes, drained. There's a little liquid left in them, but drain it a little bit. Then all we're going to do is mix this guy up. And simmer it till most of the liquid has reduced. So this is going to be the long step. I would say this is going to take a good hour and a half. I would do it at least an hour and a half, and you could add a little bit of water if it gets too dry, but usually it does pretty good. So we're just gonna let them hang out, and then we'll come back after it's all reduced and we'll do the final step, which is adding milk. Okay, the Bolognese has been simmering about an hour and a half, and about halfway through I had a little more liquid because it was getting just a tiny bit dry. So now we're gonna add a cup of milk. Kind of a weird thing to do, I know, but the milk will make it less red, more brown, and it will also tenderize the meat. So we're gonna simmer this guy. It's gonna be about 45 minutes, once again, till everything's pretty much evaporated. And then we'll be good to make our pasta or our spaghetti squash and serve it over that. So let this come back up to a little simmer. And just keep an eye on them for a little while. It's that easy. Okie dokie, my Bolognese has been cooking probably almost 4 hours and it's ready to go. I happen to make some spaghetti squash. We do something a little bit different today. We're gonna put it on top of there and give it a try. Looks pretty tasty, huh? So I've got some spaghetti squash I made. Check the website for the recipe. We're just gonna go a little lighter option today. Give ourselves a little splash of that on top. Perhaps a little bit of Parmesan cheese and a little bit of fresh basil. Doesn't that look tasty? We're gonna give it a taste. Spaghetti squash is so good. It adds a lot more flavor to it. It gives it a little kind of a sweet, nutty flavor. Great with red wine. Perfect. It's easy breezy.